The Iberian Peninsula, a place where continents meet, where the Atlantic Ocean funnels into the Mediterranean Sea through the historic Strait of Gibraltar. For centuries, these waters have been a crossroads of civilization, a vital artery for maritime trade, and a paradise for sailors drawn to its sun-drenched coastlines and challenging winds. It is a realm of profound natural beauty, a place where the rhythm of the tides has long dictated the pace of life. But in the last few years, something extraordinary, something unsettling, has been happening along the coasts of Spain and Portugal. A new, unexpected pattern has emerged from the deep, disrupting the ancient harmony between humans and the sea. Pods of orcas, the ocean's top predators, intelligent and socially complex animals, have been targeting boats. These are not fleeting, curious bumps in the night. These are sustained, coordinated, and often destructive encounters. The orcas, known to scientists as Orcanus orca, are focusing their immense power and intelligence on a single, vulnerable part of these vessels, the rudder. They approach with purpose, working together to strike, push, and wrench at the steering mechanism, leaving boats crippled and adrift. It began in the spring of 2020, when the winds were turning fair, and sailors traced familiar routes past the Rock of Gibraltar. At first, the reports felt like folklore on VHF radios. A nudge in the swell, a curious shadow rising beneath a hull. Then the pattern sharpened. Encounters clustered at the gateway between oceans, where Atlantic currents braid and the tuna run begins. By early summer, incidents multiplied along the Andalusian coast. Boats under sail, boats under power, felt the same deliberate approach. A black and white form sliding in from the quarter, another from ahead. The strikes weren't random. They settled on the rudder, testing, pushing, twisting. Crews described the wheel going light, then dead. Skepticism lingered through that first season. Mechanical failure, misread seas, stories growing in the retelling. But the tracks on charts and the scars on fiberglass told a consistent story. What started as bumps became hours-long engagements, and by late 2020, broken steering and tow-ins were no longer rare. As the tuna moved, so did the pods. The activity followed the prey northward, brushing Portugal's Algarve, climbing past the capes, into the Rias of Galicia. Through 2021 and beyond, the map lit up with a slow, insistent spread. A coastline famed for passage-making now had a new variable. Sudden silence at the helm, a boat yawing broadside. By late summer, the pattern was no longer rumor. Plotted points on charts, dates stacking in columns, tide tables, wind shifts all aligning. What had seemed like an aberration was acknowledged as a pattern, growing bolder with each return of the tuna. Wake footage told the same story. A white boil behind a stern, a shadow inside the froth. Tracks converging at capes, reappearing miles apart on the next tide. Boats making way, the approach unchanged. Two flanking, one on the rudder, a deliberate press. Research teams pinned it to boards. Arcs on a map, clusters tightening with each season. A behavior that traveled with family groups surfaced again in new hands. Out on the water, the moments felt longer. The wheel light, the hull humming, a pause in the swell, a shove through the quadrant. Crews staring back into their own turbulence, and orcas holding station in the wake, intent on the same point of weakness. By the next season, the encounters weren't just off headlands. Bays, estuaries, and harbor mouths, boats picking their way through narrow channels found company beneath the keel. Dark fins pacing the sandbar edges, a flash of white and brown-green water. Calls crackled on the radio. Loss of steering. Multiple impacts on the rudder. Rescue ribs nosed out past breakwaters, blue lights faint against a rising chop. Skippers hand steering, with sheets and throttle just to keep facing into the swell. The scale grew undeniable, more than 750 recorded interactions logged across seasons. Coordinates, hull numbers, not just scuffs and scares. Shafts bent, rudder stocks sheared, Haul-out yards filled with boats slung in straps, water weeping from stern glands, surveyors tracing force lines through shattered laminate. For some, there wasn't a lift out to reach. Several boats went down slowly at first, then suddenly, rudder damage turning to flooding, crews stepping into life rafts as the stern settled. On good days, the Coast Guard arrived fast, towlines singing, escorts shepherding damaged yachts through surf to the lee of a pier. On bad days, the weather closed and the long wait began inshore. The behavior looked different. Closer quarters, tighter turns, orcas holding station beside transoms in muddy tide, pushing as if feeling for a latch. Harbors once felt like an exhale after passage. Now the line between safe water and open sea was just a buoy, and beyond it, the same deliberate focus on a single, vulnerable hinge. The pattern tightened, not random squalls of attention. A line that could be traced, season to season, headland to harbor, stern to rudder. Incidents clustered, then leapt, climbing the coast like a tide that refused to ebb. What started as rumor turned into repetition. Similar times of day, similar depths, similar angles of approach. Inshore, a nudge like a question. Offshore, a shove that answered it. Charts filled with pins, then heat maps. Gibraltar to Galicia, cape to cape. A corridor of deliberate contact. If it was play, disciplined. If it was learning, shared. So the questions sharpened. Why the rudder and why now? A social fad in a matriarch's wake? A response to something we can't yet see? Trauma rehearsed until it became ritual? Curiosity narrowed into craft? What looks like attack to us might feel like instruction to them. Beneath the headlines and haul-outs, a biological mystery deepened. These were not aimless collisions. They were choices, timed, positioned, repeated. The kind of choices that ripple through a culture, not a single animal. And then there's the scale we don't measure, the conversations inside a pod. The moment a calf learns the angle of pressure. The shared memory of a sound we don't register until the wheel goes light in our hands. Beat. Map the encounters and a geometry appears. Transit's upwellings, choke points. Not chaos, a route. The more the line brightened, the more it pointed back to a simple hinge between worlds. Water-air instinct inference, our need to steer their decision to turn. As the season turned again, the corridor held. Quiet mornings, rising breeze, black fins in green water. What are the orcas teaching? And to whom? At first, sailors thought it was a coincidence, a curious pod brushing against rudders. But soon, the reports multiplied. Pods of Iberian orcas were not just following boats. They were ramming them, often breaking steering gear. What began offshore is now moving closer to land. Recent encounters have taken place just hundreds of meters from beaches. Experts are calling this a behavioral adaptation. But what's driving it? The rudder, a simple blade with outsized consequence. When you turn the wheel, the rudder pivots, deflecting flow, swinging the stern and steering the boat. To orcas, it's more than mechanics. It hums, it vibrates, it sings through steel and fiberglass. Pressure waves ripple off its edge. Felt along an orca's body through exquisitely tuned mechanoreception, a hinge of motion, a source of sound, a magnet for minds built to sense the sea. When a young orca finds a rudder, the sea answers back. Push, and it resists. Twist, and it groans. Bite, and it vibrates like a living thing. Play is a classroom for orcas. They chase, they nudge, they test, kelp, flotsam. A single curious juvenile may have discovered the rudder's perfect feedback loop, and others watched. In tight-knit pods, fun spreads fast. Feedback becomes invitation. Cause meets effect at the speed of water. Decks fall silent, wheels kick, hulls shiver. First contact isn't a charge, it's a question. What happens if we try that again? Another theory turns play into purpose, trauma. Researchers point to a matriarch, White Gladys, who may have suffered a harmful encounter with a boat. Orcas remember, families learn. If the threat is the vessel, the target is its steering. Disable the rudder, and danger can't follow. Note the pattern. Pressure on hinges. Pressure on stocks. Not on people. Approach. Rotate, then retreat. Defensive. It reads less like rage, more like a learned response to risk. A final bridge between play and payback. Culture. Orcas copy, and they teach. A rewarding behavior can ripple pod to pod, coast to coast. From the Strait of Gibraltar outward, interactions multiplied. Not random chaos, learned focus. Juveniles watch, elders model, pods imitate. What begins as sensation becomes tradition. The truth may be a blend. Play that turned purposeful, reinforced by memory, amplified by culture. And as the pattern spreads, the target stays the same. The rudder. Pressure. Control converge. Understanding that social engine doesn't excuse the damage, but it explains the design and points us toward coexistence. The latest mystery. Why move into shallow water at all? Scientists have linked it to changing prey patterns. Tuna populations, the orca's main food, are shifting north and inshore due to warmer waters. To follow the fish, the orcas are exploring new routes, sometimes cutting into estuaries and nearshore currents. The result? More interactions with coastal traffic, yachts, fishing vessels, and sailboats that never expected a 6-ton hello from the deep. The clips travel faster than the wind, short, shocking, everywhere at once. But let's set the viral aside and lock onto what's real. Verified encounters, logged by crews, time-stamped, and analyzed by groups like the Atlantic Orca Working Group, GTOA, reveal a repeatable pattern. Watch closely. A larger individual rises near the front, a clean distraction, drawing eyes and engines forward. At the same moment, a second, often a younger orca, slides to the stern. The target is singular. Head and jaw apply pressure. Push. Twist. Testing the blade's angle, feeling the vibration. It's not rage. It's precision. The hull is ignored. The prop is ignored. Only the rudder matters. Clip after clip, the same choreography repeats across small family units. A diversion up front, a focused approach aft, then deliberate contact. This is learned behavior, specific, practiced, and shared. In the open water, with identifiable individuals and clear sightlines, the pattern holds. The result is unmistakable, not random attack, but method, memory, and technique centered on a single moving part. Here's where the rumor mill spins fastest. Dolphins mislabeled as orcas. Watch the leading edge. See the cluster stacked tight on the pressure wave, surfing the wake, peeling off and rejoining in bursts of speed. That's classic wake surfing curiosity. Play, flow. Rissos and other dolphins can look orca-like from a distance. Tall dorsal fins, pale scarring, gray and white flashes. A low camera angle turns speed into drama. Now compare it to the Iberian orca pattern we verified. A decoy near the front, then the action shifts aft. The stern is the stage. The rudder is the point. Methodical. Pod size is your first clue. Wake surfing dolphins often arrive in larger groups, dozens. Trading places at the front. Iberian orca interactions are small family units. 3 to 5, coordinated, with roles. Second clue. Dolphins ride the pressure wave up front. Along the beam, the stern stays empty. Iberian orcas ignore the hull, ignore the prop, then concentrate on the rudder. The intent, dolphins track the boat's pressure wave. Playful arcs. Iberian orcas test a single moving part. Precise contact. Visual rule of thumb. Foaming pressure wave. Leaping bodies. No one at the stern. You're not seeing the Iberian phenomenon. If the front is a diversion, the stern is crowded. Rudder in play. Wake surfing equals dolphins. Rudder fixation equals Iberian orcas. If you ever encounter orcas, the best move is no move. Cut the engine, stop steering, avoid sudden changes. Many incidents end when the boat simply goes silent. Do not throw items or bang on the hull. That can escalate the interaction. And always report encounters to your maritime authority. The Iberian Orca Network logs every event to help researchers track pods and patterns. Remember, these are intelligent, social animals, not monsters. They're learning from us too. For centuries, sailors called orcas killer whales. But maybe the better term is learning whales. They adapt faster than any marine predator. And now they're adapting to us. As the seas warm and shipping increases, these encounters may become the new normal. The question isn't just why they're doing it, it's what they're trying to tell us. If you found this fascinating, subscribe to Cruise Ship Safety and Security for more true ocean stories, from rogue waves to maritime mysteries. And remember, the sea always teaches. We just have to listen.